What's going on, everybody? This is the 7th episode of the MarYoda podcast channel. Today we will interview Flamingbird101. Okay, Flamingbird, can you introduce yourself to the public?
Hello, I'm Flamingbird101. I'm some random dude who backdoored Zero B, was in some bases, staff on ALH, and started a pretty sizable archive of servers.
Okay, so when did you first join Minecraft?
Oh lord. I know it was in November of 2012, but I played for a little bit before that on the demo, so my first version was 1.4.2.
That's pretty old. How did you find Minecraft? How did you find about Minecraft?
So this is gonna sound cheesy, but there's this girl, and all good stories start that way, right? And I think this girl liked me. I'm still not sure. I haven't seen her in years, but in 4th grade, she kept talking about this game called Minecraft. And I'm like, okay. So I asked my mom about it, and she started playing it, and I'm like, okay, this looks kind of strange. So then I started playing it, and then I got a $50 bill from my great grandma, and I gave that to my mom and said I want to buy this game. And yeah, that was that.
Interesting. Okay. Uh, when did you find out about Anarchy?
Ooh. So I think the first instance I've had heard about Anarchy was a video from Ant Venom that uploaded in around 2018 that was like the beauty of Minecraft Anarchy or something like that. But I watched the video and I was like, why the hell would anybody ever play this? So I know, here we are. Then fast forward about 2 years later, I was subscribed to a YouTuber named Salsy1, you've definitely heard of him, and he uploaded a video called I am ending my Minecraft Anarchy server. And I was like, oh, I might want to be there for that. And that was on the 12th of April, 2020. I did not end up joining that, but then I saw another video from him that said Minecraft Anarchy server alternatives for 2B2T. No, I didn't even know that 2B had a queue. So I was like, wait, what? So the first server he went on was this one called 9b9t.org. So I joined that, and yeah, that's how it started.
So you started on 9b9t.
Yep.
Okay. So when you started playing on 9b9t, how did you escape spawn?
So back in the day, and now this was like April 13th, 2020, so stuff has obviously changed, but there's this really convenient obby bridge at the nether roof. If you just kept dying, you'd end up spawning up there, and you could navigate out to this little one wide bridge that would lead directly to a portal onto the highway. And then eventually I would use that and just started traveling -Z. And that's all I ever did on 9b9t. I made it using the timer hack because all of the small anarchy servers have a gimmick. So Constantium is that it doesn't have a queue and it's old. But 9b9t's is that you can use a hack called timer. So I used that, and over the course of the next 10 days or so, I walked about a good 8 million blocks total overworld. And I visited a few of the milestones, but yeah, that was pretty much that.
How did you establish yourself as a geared player? Like, how long did it took you to get gear on 9b9t and Anarchy servers?
Oh, I still don't have gear on 9b9t.
Uh,
I still have just the basic diamond unenchanted stuff that I found from a dead guy who had a ton of bread. And yeah, I still just kind of sit there on the highway and talk to people, but on Zero B it was a little different because there's this guy named Scoodons who kept advertising in 9b9t with accounts named Scoodons and That's a Ghost about his little Twitch stream. So I ended up going there, and he was giving out kits, and I'm like, wow, this guy's giving out kits on 9b9t, I might have to kill myself even though I'm 7 million blocks out. But it turns out he was actually giving out kits on a server called 0b0t, which I joined a few days prior, along with a few other servers, just to kind of see what they were like. So I ended up joining that one, and he gave me some gear, but he tried to teleport to me. And I'm like, what the hell is this? And then I ended up realizing, oh, this is actually kind of cool. So yeah, I started playing Zero B, and that's really where things kicked off.
first time you see a TPA on an Anarchy server?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you been part of any groups on Anarchy?
I believe you already know the answer to that question, but I'll kind of go over the layout of how that worked. So, it, I didn't really join any established groups at first because I had no idea what the hell I was doing. But I was at this base about 1.3 million blocks out, and there was a party at spawn, and it was started by a guy named Dexter Morgan, who had a group called Team Clean. So I kind of wanted to get in because they had a lot of pretty large parties that were really fun with a decent group of lads. And he said, if you want to get in our group, maybe you should like inside the imps or something. I'm like, who the hell are the imps? So, of course, the very next day, this guy named Brick Zebra starts logging on his Imperial bot, because he had those back then, and they started advertising the Discord. So I got in, I DM'd Dexter, and I was like, is this it? And he was like, yeah. So, on the 7th of May, I started doing work for them, applied on the 14th, and yeah, managed to inside them within less than a month.
Wow, that's
Wow, that's
weird.
yeah.
So, did you make any bases with anyone? Did you base with anyone on 0B0T or 9B9T or any server?
So I mostly play 0B, so the bases, I mean, I was always invited to the imp base, but I never really stayed there because I knew I was going to blow them all up. So this guy named Ty the Fire Guy would keep inviting me to the imp bases because he's like, even if you're an insider, I don't care. Like, you're trustworthy, you stay around for longer than 2 weeks, so you're clearly good, right? Yeah, imps back then were a train wreck, but I got in there and then I managed to blow up 5 of their bases. One of them ended up being Ethereus's personal base. I think that'll become important later. But in the meantime, I was at 2K2K where somebody placed a bunch of player heads, and inadvertently there I met a player named Curtis. The IGN was just Kurtis. And I was like, yo, nice OG IGN. And he was like, yo, thanks. And then he was like, yo, do you want to see my base? Don't tell anyone, nerd. So it was like, okay, this is going to be fun. And I pull up to this place, and he names it Bordelot. And I'm like, what the hell is that name? And he's like, yeah, like the French city. He tried to name it Bordeaux, but completely failed. So that's how the name Bordelot came around, and it stuck.
Hmm.
So, yeah. Those are really the main important bases I was on. I was also in a base named Aranos, which was PR3's project, who was one of the lead developers and the guy who really helped out with the server. He ended up helping me backdoor 0B. But yeah, those were the only real bases I was in, is the Bordelot, Aranos, and then Bordelot 2, or just B2, and then B3.
Uh, what makes 2B2T and Anarchy in general fun for you? What do you enjoy doing the most when playing on an Anarchy server?
Ooh, it's a very difficult question, to be honest. I don't know that well enough to completely be able to give a solid pre-written answer. But what I can say is that I do like building, I do like interacting with the community, and I especially love all of the drama and events and fun stuff that can unfold.
Okay, what's your opinion on the Anarchy community?
Well, the anarchy community oddly has gotten a little bit better, but I mean, it's always been an absolute train wreck, but people think it's going to be a lot worse than it actually is. In reality, it's just a bunch of edgy kids, and none of them know how to make an insult, or be toxic, or just do anything that they're attempting to do. So it ends up looking really silly. Like, as O6D mentioned, there's a lot of people who are like, oh my god, I can say the N-word, oh my god. And then they say it, and it's like, yeah, bruh, we get it, you're new. So,
Yeah.
I think the anarchy community in general is just, yeah, that. It's pretty basic, and a lot of other servers, especially faction servers, are way more toxic.
I've been in several communities and I can agree with that. I have to say something about myself. When I first joined the anarchy community, it was portrayed like it was a criminal place. Like everyone was a hacker, everyone was like, terrible people. But after
You could get
learning,
boxed in 2 seconds just by
yeah,
joining.
yeah, that's
That's my
just
favorite misconception.
that's misconception that people get from YouTube and stuff like that. But when you get to meet the community, I think it's pretty good.
There are definitely some bad actors and there are definitely some bad apples, but you just avoid them and you should be fine.
Yeah. So what's your opinion on YouTubers such as FitMC, Salsi1, and Fast Vincent?
Ooh. Let me just kind of go through them because I think I have some kind of controversial opinions. FitMC is fine. FitMC is he's there's some bullshit. There's some stuff that he just flat out lies about and it's just incorrect or not giving the whole story. But like that's to be expected because everybody's biased in their own way. And he's pretty successful and he seems like a decent dude. I do not like Salsi 1. This is going to become kind of a shock, but he's recently started going back to his pay to win duping. And what he doesn't realize is by doing those and putting the server IP in the description or making it very obvious what the server is, he's exploding those servers in popularity. You just look at Wild Prison, and like all of a sudden it's getting 120 players regularly. So like he's trying to destroy the economy and send these places a message, but he's ending up making these servers really popular and giving them a lot more money. So like not only is Salsi 1 what he's doing completely ineffective and wrong, but like he's just so out of touch with the community. But at the same time it's like packed up PNG project and his videos and that kind of stuff is just amazing.
That's a good point.
I think he's misguided, but he knows what he's doing. Now, Fast Vincent, of course, Baron Dome just like disappeared, but
Yeah, he
Fast Vincent's a different animal because Fast Vincent's for the people who really want to know the history. And like, I was one of his first 2,000 subscribers. There's actually a screenshot of me when he left and joined 0B0T, and it was from May of 2020 when he barely had a following. And I was like, oh my god, this video is so good. And I was on with my friend Batmando, who is from a really small anarchy server, which doesn't matter. And he was like, "Oh my gosh, do you see that? He was fast." I'm like, "Yeah, he's so underrated. He makes such the best videos." And yeah, now he's doing pretty well, but you really need to be in the community to know about him.
I don't think he has like, as 060 says actually, he's not that big like as FitMC, so he doesn't bring new players. So you really need to be invested in the community to find out about him.
Yeah, he doesn't bring in as many new players. I'm sure there's at least one or two.
Yeah, he
You
has
can't
done
keep
some
them.
famous videos, so I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Okay. Do you think those YouTubers affect 2B2T and Anarchy in general in a bad way or a good way?
Um, I don't have an opinion on either of those things. I think that they give players to the community and they make it what it is. It's too hard to think of a hypothetical what if FitMC doesn't exist, because that's just based on a logical fallacy called hypothesis contrary to fact. So there's no real reason to speculate. Like, it just is what it is.
What if he just stopped doing YouTube and just moved on?
I think that there'd be maybe a few less players, but like Minecraft in general just doesn't have the hype bubble that it had in 2021, and a lot of the Turkish, whatever the Turkish YouTuber was, doesn't have as much of a following, which is especially noticeable on Zero B. Like, the amount of Turk Varmies I've seen is a lot fewer.
So, I don't know if you've ever run a server on Minecraft. Have you ever run a server?
I've helped operate a Minecraft server, but I've never run a server.
Do you think you can? operate a server or not?
Yeah, I feel like I could do it. I don't think I'd want to, but I feel like I could.
Okay, so imagine now that you were to get ownership of 2B2T and of the files, everything. Do you think you would be a better owner than the current owner of 2B2T?
Well, better is a very ambiguous term, so would I be different? Yeah, because I probably wouldn't do anything because I don't really know what I'm doing. But at the same time, if you look at PrioQ, like, if you do the math and you figure out how many people are doing that, he's getting quite a bit of money from 2B2T.
A lot of
And
money.
Sato's estimates have always been up in the 6 to even 7 figure ranges for the year. So, like, there's clearly some money in revenue. Maybe not in profits, but definitely in revenue. So, yeah, I feel like I'd be living it up and I'd be saying that I'm a great owner when in reality I'm just stealing all the money and doing whatever with it.
What would you change? Would you make any changes or just keep the server the same?
Um, well, I'd get everybody off the prio ban list, first of all. And after that, no, I would not update it to 118, obviously, but
Then
I
kill the
would
server.
maybe change a few of the strange quirks about it. Like there's some strange elytra patches and odd crystal timings, so I want to get rid of those and see if they'd affect the player base, which I really don't think they would.
So anti-cheat changes.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, so what is something positive about 2B2T not updating to 1.19?
Um, I mean, the obvious answer is less lag, but here's another one of my controversial opinions. I do not like newer Minecraft versions. 1.12 was pretty much the peak Minecraft. Now, there's a good argument to be made for 1.7.10, Beta 1.7.3, or 1.8.9, but in my opinion, I like 1.12 the best. And that's one of the appeals of Anarchy, is not only not getting banned for saying things that I like to say, but also just the older version of Minecraft where there's still a lot of technicalities and a lot of fun things, but there's not a lot of new unfamiliar mechanics and strange lag spikes and other just technical things they changed about the game. Because I noticed with 112 that like you still have all the attributes the way they were, and 32Ks still work. Like there's no 255 limit that was added in 116. So yeah,
Okay. So what is your opinion on the rules of 2B2T, like building a lag machine and stuff like that? Do you think people should be prior banned for that reason?
yeah. The thing with being prio banned is that number one, you're only giving yourself less money, and number two, like it kind of ruins the whole point. Like it's like, oh well, they're still technically not banned. Like, come on, man. That's not how you deal with those kinds of problems. Like, you patch the lag machines, you patch the dupes, if you even want to, or else you just have a gimmick server, but yeah, like, it's kind of arbitrary.
Have you been prior banned before?
So, the answer is no, because I've never had priority queue, and that brings me to the fact that I've only ever joined 2B2T 3 times. The first time was in May of 2020, and there's a video in my YouTube channel called So Close, or I don't even remember, but it was me being 10th in queue, and then the server restarting and me being kicked back to
That's sad.
237. So, yeah, that's pretty amazing. But there was that time, and then there was a time where I was getting crashed a lot, so that was when I joined the other 2 times. But the first time I joined, Pop Bob and I, Tristan, were having a little bit of a fight, and obviously people were clout chasing and trying to be famous and get mentioned by those guys by being idiots, which was
Uh,
pretty hilarious. It's like, oh my god, these people are famous! Like, oh my gosh.
okay. Um, so if 2B2T just delete what deleted, like the next day you woke up, 2B2T was deleted. How do you think the 2B2T community would react? Like move to alternatives like 9B9T or just quit anarchy? What do you think like would be the reaction
Well,
of the public?
here's the thing: is I think that the rest of the Anarchy servers, especially Const, would see a pretty large spike in popularity. But you also have to understand that a lot of the PrioQ accounts and just regular accounts on 2B2T are robots. Like, a lot of people don't realize that, but a lot of them are like, we've got the obvious ones like Moo and BibleBot and whatever else, but like, there's also some not as obvious robots that are like, oh, I don't know, doing no com or whatever the hell robots do. So, yeah, I don't know what would happen.
Um, why do you think people don't like you? Like, I'm sure there are people that like you and some that don't, but what's something negative about you?
Okay, that question actually allows me to go into basically who the hell I even am.
Yeah.
So, on June 19th, the day I incited the imps, I ended up blowing up Aetherius' personal base. So, obviously, Aetherius hasn't liked me since then, and like, with the way events turned out, like, there's pretty much not a worse enemy you could have picked other than maybe like PR3 or the owner himself. So, it ended up being fine. Like, he would just join the imps and do whatever stuff, but then eventually he started getting a lot of illegal items, and like, it was definitely not as balanced in the economy. So, eventually he decided in his egotistical world, that I like to call it, that he was going to start a museum. Well, some things led to another. He ended up inviting Crazy Kev, who was a very trustworthy person, who ended up giving Ganhas the cords for some reason because of a deal he made earlier, or he owed him something. But Ganhas ended up trading me the coordinates to his base with the promise that I would not blow it up if I just gave him some player heads. So, obviously, I did that. I went down to the cords, I blew up the imp base that was nearby, and of course I blew up his museum on an alt account and didn't tell him it was me until a few years later. So then he's like, oh, no big deal. These items got stolen. This is horrible. I'll just build a second museum. Yeah, I found that too. I didn't blow up that one. And then he also had another base, and he was like, I'm going to build a third museum. Yeah, I found that too.
Damn, that's
So, so after all of that, it was like, wow, Flamingbird finally won. Aetherius is going to quit if he just has this museum destroyed. What's going to possibly happen? He became owner of the fucking server. Yep, you heard that right. He became the partial owner of 0B0T, and he had operator. As if it couldn't get any worse. So that's why I quit 0B. Because the one person sought out to destroy became the owner of the server and can now destroy me. So I'm like, you know what? We're just gonna kill all my ults, break all the beds, and hope for the best.
so you haven't logged on 0B since?
No, I have logged on a few times. Only on my main. All the alts haven't seen the days. I mean, the Mojang authentication made them all useless anyway, but yeah. So, to actually answer your question, I think one thing to dislike about me is A, my history. Because, like, of course, I had this massive feud with Aetherius, and Aetherius is very well liked, and he was also the owner. But before that, he also ended up becoming part of PR3's secret project with me and Pixelated Brayden. Because Pixelated Brayden is known for leaking things, and he ended up telling Aetherius it was his best friend, and I warned him, you will not invite Aetherius or mess around with his museum because I do not like him and I have beef with him. Yeah, he did not listen, so that's why I showed up to his second museum and placed a sign there, and took Austrev as kind of a threat. I'm like, no, I'm not just going to show up myself and this will all be fine. No, I'm showing Austrev so that you guys don't even know if you can trust your own base or not. In reality, I knew it was chill, so I knew it wasn't going to do anything, but yeah, if there's a reason to not like me, it's because of my history and the fact that I've made enemies with a lot of very likable people.
Okay. Do you think you have an ego?
Um, in a Freudian sense, or in a literal sense? Um, all, all joking aside, maybe.
Do you think
Like,
that's a good
I
thing?
can, some things can get to my head. And no, it's not really a good thing. Like, I'm like, okay, well, I'm Flamingbird, like, I log on to Zero B, and, like, people know who I am, and they know, oh, you're the guy that nobody likes, or you're the guy who did this, or... And it's like, okay, yeah. And, like, sometimes, like, I've got invited at least 2 times to just random-ass Discord servers, and they're like, yo, we need you here, and they, like, and of course, I usually say my little line of, yeah, well, give me the totem roll. And they, like, put me at the top of their list, and they give me the totem roll, and those Discords never get more than 18 members, and I just put them in the archive and then delete them when they die.
Now that you brought up the archive, what are some archive worthy, like, what is the most worth stuff that you have archived?
So, first of all, the archive started, I've always had a Discord with just a totem as the profile pic, or whatever you call it, the Discord motto, logo, that's what it is. But I started archiving Zero B Discords because I would give so many links to Gaming Derp, and I recently became staff on his Anarchy Links hub. So I made my own server just to expedite the process and let him just grab the links from my server. But I also started advertising it, and I got it to 400 members. Then Anarchy Links Hub, Gaming Derp left because the server kind of died, and I left the staff for other reasons. But then I decided I was going to completely redo it, rebrand it as the Anarchy Discord archive, and just take over ALH. I gained 100 members very quickly, got to 500 members. I'm now back down to 400 because after that I lost motivation very quickly, and I'm like, you know what, I don't even like playing Anarchy anymore. So, yeah, so now it's just Totem Cord where I host random events and do whatever the hell totems do. But I think the most important thing that I've archived, ooh, I've managed to do some crazy digging through very obscure Zero-B sources and pull up some very interesting discords and some very interesting conversations, including the coordinates to several pretty high-profile bases. But I think the most important thing that's actually sitting in the archive right now is what I call the 5 OG discords, which are discords that were not archived in any obvious way, but need to be found through various means. Some of them aren't even accessible anymore. So,
That's good.
what exactly they contain, I don't know, because I'm not joining them so that they stay up forever. Because sometimes when people join old-ass servers and ping people, they just delete themselves, because it's like, oh, why do I need the server? So that's why I have the private section of my archive.
Do you have any upcoming events or projects you want to do?
Um, Events are usually just based on as they come up basis. So, like my last event, I was duping on a server called Ultimate Prison, and that was because I found the dupe, and the owner was one of the people who made a pretty pay-to-win server, and I told him not to, and he did not do anything about it, so I ended up abusing an exploit in one of their plugins, and was able to dupe a crap ton of stuff and spam the logs.
Do you feel guilty?
I mean, he kind of deserved this, and I didn't do it like Salsy1. Like, notice how that server never got any as popular? It actually gained fewer players because I stopped playing on it because I was no longer trying to find a dupe.
You were the only active player, though.
No, that's not true. It would regularly get around 20 players. Although, I think part of the reason the owner was suspicious is because he was wondering, wait, why the hell do I have 15 players on my server? And then he sees the names that are like Little Ganja 1337, and he knows something's up.
So, um, what is your relation with other groups on Anarchy? Any groups you like?
Well, let's start out with the obvious ones. Obviously, the Imperials don't like me. That's because I incited them 2 years ago. And every year on June 19th, I come back to the Imperials Discord and I apply. I make an application,
every year?
which, yeah, it started in 2021 where I just did it as a joke, but then I came back this year and also made an application on the same day. So,
You plan to continue that?
oh yeah, of course.
That
Just to remind them,
now that they
because
know
it's
they're not
funny.
going to ban you.
It's funny because it's LARPy, and they also like to LARP, so it's fun. Let's see. A lot of the mainstream groups that used to be on CRB don't exist anymore. But I would have decent relations with them, like I was always in Dexter's, Team Clean, Fancy, and Eclipse, or whatever the hell it is now. Like, they're always good. But a lot of the newer groups, either I don't know, or some of them don't even know me, which I mean, I'm just some random kid, so who would know me? But they're like, oh, yeah, okay, you're gonna archive me in your shitty Discord? Let me ban you because of advertising links. So, yeah, I don't really have much of a relation with the groups anymore because I just don't play.
Do you want to give anyone watching a shout out?
Ooh, let's see. First of all, shout out to Ethereus if you're watching this. Obviously, I'm LARPing as usual, but yeah, shout out to you. Shout out to Pixelated Brayden, comment Keck if you see this. And shout out to Birdie30 for having the most convenient hacked account, which managed to get me hacked. No, just kidding, love you.
Yeah, I remember this incident. Do you want to add anything else that I didn't ask or something?
Well, let's see. I mean, this is the part where I'm like, oh my god, please join the archive. It's amazing. Join Totem Cord. It's the best Discord server ever.
Sure,
It's like
you can
inactive as
do.
hell.
You can do
But
that.
like, I mean, other than that, I don't really have anything to say other than the fact that I will watch this video and I'm one of the few people on Earth who can actually stand the sound of my own voice.
And everyone has a problem with their own voice, I believe.
Yeah, except me apparently. I sound pretty much the same in my head that I sound outwardly. So
I can't
yeah.
even stand to watch my interviews, actually.
All right.
All right.
Is that
Thank you.
all?
Yeah, thank you for your time, Flamingbird. I hope to see you again.
Yeah, of
Uh,
course. Hope your schedule clears up some more.
yeah.